Welcome to Word for Word, where conversations create clarity and spark change. I'm Michael Rayford, financial educator and host, and today we are diving into one of the most powerful vehicles for building wealth: home ownership. We'll be talking to a real estate professional who's not just helping people buy homes, but helping them build legacies. We're going to unpack how real estate connects to entrepreneurship, financial independence, and then also generational wealth. We'll also challenge some of the biggest myths about what it really takes to own property and also grow from it. So whether you're a first-time home buyer, an investor in the making, or simply someone who's just ready to take control of your financial future, this conversation is definitely for you. So this is Word for Word, and I introduce you to real estate professional Tammie Lester. Tammie, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. So tell me a little bit about your real estate profession, how long you've been in the industry, and how do you like it?
Well, I am 24 years in the business, and I'll tell you what, it's never dull. There's nothing boring about it. I love it, actually. And the best part about real estate for me has always been the educational piece. I love to educate people. I love to help people build multi-generational wealth through real estate. I've helped everyone from 20-year-olds. I mean, my youngest was a 19-year-old that I put into a multi-unit building, and they just kept buying and buying and buying. And now he owns a small real estate empire. But yeah, that's pretty much what I do. I talk around real estate all the time, and obviously, to do that, you have to love it.
Right. So we appreciate what you do. So let's talk about the power of home ownership. So what do you believe most people misunderstand about home ownership as a wealth building tool?
One of the things that I think people get hung up on is I'm going to have to fix things, or what interest rates are at this time. And really, I always tell people, look, when you're renting, you're doing nothing but paying interest. And you're paying a mortgage, it's just somebody else's. So if you're paying a little bit higher of an interest rate now than someone else, or than what we saw in the early, in that bubble that we were having when rates were super low. I'm not even going to mention what the rates were, but, I always say you're paying 100% interest if you're renting. And I think that's a misconception. People will pay 24% on credit cards and not 8% on a mortgage. Just doesn't make much sense.
Right. So how does actually owning a home, how does that impact someone's net worth over time?
Over time, basically, you're just building. You have a soft bank account within your home, right? As you pay your mortgage, you're bringing your money, your what you owe down, and your home is just growing in value year over year. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to be the biggest reach. It's going to be the biggest investment you can make with the largest return over a short period of time.
Okay.
A short
Now
period of
there's
time.
a
I say a short period of time because most other investments are super long term, but you can buy a home and gain 100 grand in 2 years.
wow. Okay. So there's controversy over renting versus owning. So, can renting ever make more financial sense than owning? And if so, when do you think that would be?
I I'm trying to think of a scenario where I could make it make sense to me. Because I even feel like people who move into a state and aren't sure that they're going to be there long, if they buy something, first of all, real estate always sells and it sells easily. But if they want to hold it and move to that other state and rent it out, it's still going to be a gain for them. I just can't. Maybe somebody super young who's not responsible enough, maybe that would be the only scenario where I would see where it would make sense.
Okay.
I
So, in a previous,
I'm sorry.
I was going to say in a previous career, I was a housing counselor for a nonprofit. And so the thought process was it makes sense to rent if you're not sure, and you just talked about moving from state to state. So if your career is unstable and you don't know if you're going to be in a particular city very long, maybe it makes more sense to rent now because you know you're going to be transitioning to another state in a short amount of time. But you're saying it still makes sense to purchase because even if you do move to a different state, you can still own that property, or if you sell it, you know, hopefully you're making a profit on the property anyway.
Yeah. Even if it's a
Okay.
small profit, you know, like it could be a small profit, but nevertheless, you didn't waste money renting because it's just basically throwing it away, right? Again, you're paying somebody's mortgage, it's just not your own. And now you might, maybe you made $5,000, but that's $5,000 that you made because you purchased a home.
Okay. All right. So for first time home buyers, especially, and you mentioned younger ones, what's the biggest mental hurdle that they have to overcome?
I feel like it's the people surrounding them. I always feel like, and this I think is a big thing for most first time home owners, buyers, young or old. They go and listen to people who don't know anything about real estate, do not deal with real estate regularly, and those people infuse fear into them, and then they get scared and they don't do it. I think the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle is listening to other people who don't know what they're talking about.
That's like a life challenge anyway for almost anything, right?
Yeah.
Is taking the advice of other people versus thinking for yourself, or at
Correct.
least seeking out the professional who has nothing to
Bias.
gain, right? And they'll tell you the truth about the situation.
They will. And that's what I always tell
So,
people. I say, don't listen to your auntie who is a negative Nancy and she runs around telling all the people negative things. Like, why would you do that? Go seek out somebody who's done this before, somebody who is a professional within it, somebody who is going to like be a positive in your life about it, because it's not a fun situation to be in. Buying homes is not fun, especially for people who don't do it every day. They have to gather paperwork and do like, but I tell people it's about 30 days of your life. You can do anything for 30 days where you have to dig for information that should be easy to find anyway. But like it's 30 days. And then beyond that, you get what you want.
yeah, I get that. We get that in the financial industry, right? And that's why we lean so heavily on education first, is because people in your circle, and everybody's situation is different. You know, just because something worked out for them doesn't mean it's going to work out for you.
True.
And you know, get educated. There's a ton of information out there, but because there is so much information, it can be confusing. And when it's confusing, we get frustrated. So it's always best to seek out a professional who's got nothing to gain, but is willing to give you the correct information. So let's talk about the business side of real estate for a second. So most people think that you just help people buy homes or sell homes. So from your perspective, how is being a realtor or real estate agent, how is that really an entrepreneurial venture?
Well, for realtors, it really is. I was talking to, because I do seminars quite a bit, and I was talking to a group of realtors day before yesterday. And what I always try and tell them, your business, your book of business that you've built over the years, because that's what they do. They build this business up. They go out, they market themselves to the world. They pull people in, they pull in other agents. They're building a business throughout the years. And once they're done with that business, once they want to retire, they should be able to package that business up and sell it just like any other business. They should have enough information in writing so that their book of business can be sold to another agent, just like anybody would sell any other business. they are an entrepreneur. They are building a business. It is all up to them. Just like me as a mortgage person, I'm doing the same thing. I build a book of business. I have people who come to me multiple times to purchase homes. Those are my clients. So I take them with me wherever I go.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So how do you think real estate professionals themselves build long-term wealth beyond your commissions? How do real estate professionals build wealth?
Well, I think like anyone else, right? And I think the easiest way and the most gains is through buying real estate. I'm a professional landlord. I'm always looking for, and I tell my tenants, hey, if you want to rent for me, great. But if you ever want to buy, let me help you. I will help you. If you want to pay my mortgage, okay. But I always encourage them to buy. And I'm always looking to buy real estate. That is how that is the business that I'm going to hand down to my son. And guess what? He'll be able to hand it down to his kids. And that is when I speak about multi-generational wealth, that's what I'm talking about. This will always be in my family. It will always belong to us.
True legacy. So what are some lessons from being in the real estate business could apply to other entrepreneurs? So what lessons have you learned as a real estate professional that could transfer to another entrepreneur in a different industry?
Well, I think integrity is everything, right? Always being honest, always being true, not taking advantage of people, because we get that a lot in our industry, right? And I think that's another stigma that happens with, the real estate industry. People will take advantage of people. And I think that is one of the things that you can take that and do that with any business, because your word is your bond, right? And you're supposed to be doing this to help people. And integrity, honesty, respect, those are things that you have to carry through life, period. And very good to carry through your business.
Okay. Now you mentioned some very important words there. And so how important is it from a branding standpoint and relationship standpoint to be successful? How important is that? And how do you brand yourself as a real estate agent?
I think realtors now, obviously social media is huge. There's a guy that I know who has branded himself very well, and he calls himself the cowboy of real estate. And he walks around with a buckle, a big cowboy buckle, a hat, and cowboy boots all the time. That's just his thing. And for me, my brand, I feel like, is the fact that I educate people. Like, I go out and speak to people. That is what I want people to see me as, because again, I love that part of it. So I want people to see me as an educator. And so that's my brand when it comes to, and obviously, I do mortgages. So I want to be known for doing that too. Mm-hmm. But I also want people to know that I'm here to help. I had a lot of real estate in my family, and I think I told you a little bit about this. And I feel like it was lost. It was my mother's grandmother. She had 9 properties in Pittsburgh. And I feel like the reason why those properties got lost is because her kids were not educated properly on the value of what they had. So for me, education and helping people realize how this can impact and benefit their life over time and their children, I think that's super important. So I think the way you brand yourself is, obviously I don't have like a gimmicky one, but it's what I feel passionate about. This guy loved cowboys, so that's what he does.
Okay. So let's talk about, let's transition to, and you think back, barriers and breakthroughs. What do you think the biggest barriers are that are keeping, whether it's middle America or minority communities, from buying homes or investing in real estate? So what do you think the biggest barriers are?
Money, maybe. I think that,
That's a big one.
yeah, I think that, and I think that was a big barrier in the past. Now there's tons of programs where, like, I have a program where with somebody with a 620 score, just a moderate score, can get 5%. So that'll pay their whole 3.5% down payment. And then another 1.5% towards their closing costs. Like, I have buyers who leave closing with money instead of having to bring money. Now, credit, I think, is number two. People, it's one of the things that I feel like people need to be educated on. I feel like it's something that we should talk about in schools. I feel like children should learn about credit from like high school up. In high school, there should be classes about it. I think that's a big thing, which is another reason why I help a lot of people fix their credit. I have people who come to me with terrible credit scores, and I tell them, what
terrible.
terrible.
What is terrible?
In the fours. That's terrible, and it's not to insult anyone, but it's because we're not educated about credit. And let me tell you what, I am not one. I mean, I'm not here popping my collar, because I've messed my credit up like several times throughout my life as a young person, and probably twice in my 20s. And then after I did it the second time in my 20s, I was like, you know what? Why do I keep doing this to myself? Let me just fix this and be a normal human being. Fix it and let it be what it's supposed to be, so I can use it whenever I need it. Even people who are not trying to purchase homes, when I talk about credit, they'll say, hey, I'm not looking to buy a home yet, but I feel like I'm ready to get my credit together, and I will help them with that. So I think those are the two largest things. Money and credit.
Okay. So how do you think financial literacy can help shift those barriers?
Well, number one, I mean, how could it not? At the end of the day, how could it not? Because once you learn about how credit can, because cash is king, right? But credit gets you almost anything you want at almost any time, right? It affords us to do things that we can't do. Or even if we do have the cash to do it, I'm all about keep your cash in your pocket. I would rather finance something and pay it off later or over time. Or if I'm like, okay, I'm done making this car note, now I can just throw this cash at it. But there's never a reason why I want to drive a $50,000 car off the lot and just pay for it cash. Doesn't make any sense.
You want to leverage.
Right.
I mean, that's the word, leverage. So what are some, if you think back over your career, what are some success stories where you saw an individual or individuals who were struggling initially financially, but were able to build wealth through property or home ownership?
Oh my, so many examples. So many examples. After doing this for 24 years, I've seen so many things. I feel like I've seen it all, but then something will pop up and it'll be like, no, you didn't. You didn't see it all. Here's something new. But I have helped several of my childhood friends who, again, growing up without the education and people around you who are not financially savvy. I've helped as adults, like I've come back in touch with people I was friends with in high school, who I have helped them fix their credit. I have helped them fix their credit, purchase a home, and purchase another home. I've helped them buy multi-unit properties. Because I always felt like, okay, if you're not super responsible with cash, and I don't want to put you in a home where you're going to lose it. So let's go out and buy a 4-unit, get your tenants to pay your mortgage, and you can be willy-nilly with your money if you want to until you learn.
Mm-hmm.
But that I've done that for people where and then they're like, oh my God, this is great. I'm living for free. And then I'm like, okay, well, you want to buy another one? They go out and buy another one. I've done that for I've done that for 3 of my high school friends, and those are the ones that that really touched me the most, and family, because you know it's great to see. I do it for people I don't know all the time, and I have great pleasure in it. But it's more pleasurable to do it for people that I do know and people who are dear to me.
Absolutely. So let's shift to, buying a home. A lot of times it's about strategy or timing, right? So if you think about today's interest rates and the market conditions, what's your take on either buying now in today's market, waiting and hope that things get better, or pivot to a different strategy? Like maybe owning a home is not for me, but I still want to build wealth. What's your take on timing and a strategy?
I think it's always the right time to purchase a home.
Are you speaking as a realtor?
No, I'm speaking as a person who buys properties.
Okay.
I'm speaking from that perspective. And listen, I'm not a realtor. I do mortgages for a living.
Okay.
I speak with realtors a lot. And I think no matter what, I always tell people, marry the home, date the interest rate. This is your home, right?
I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
You're gonna live here. When interest rates drop, refi it. Get rid of it and get the lower rate. So you can't always buy the house that you find on the market that's the perfect home for you, right? You're not gonna have that opportunity all the time. It's not gonna be there. I'll buy that house next year. Well, next year it might not be for sale. So if that's what you want, go get it. And when rates go down, refinance. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So what do you think the top 3 things that a prospective home buyer, what are the top 3 things they should do before they actually talk to a lender?
I think I don't know. I don't know. I always tell people, just kind of have your ducks in a row, know your information, because it's funny. A lot of people tell me, "Oh, I make like $22 or $23 an hour." Those, and I'm like, "No, you make what you make. It's not one or the other." Like, know your information. Documentation, I think that's kind of important. Like maybe have your tax returns, not necessarily tax returns, but tax returns if you're self-employed, W-2s if you're a W-2 employee, paycheck stubs, asset statements, ID. Maybe have those things along with you. But I think talking to a lender is really important, because a lot of people don't know what the lender needs. And it's different based on who it is. That is, like, again, we could be talking to a self-employed person who doesn't want to show tax returns. And at that point, I'm needing bank statements, So I think the most important thing is just talking, having that conversation in the beginning, and going from there. Okay. I think a lot of people are scared to talk to lenders, and really the lender is your friend. They are the people who are going to show you and tell you exactly what to do to get to where you want to be. I always tell people, be extremely candid with me. I'm the one who's going to help you. Tell me everything, so I'm not guessing at it, and I'm not running into hiccups later because you told me because you left something out or told me something that wasn't true.
Right. So how do you think, so that's good, building that relationship with that lender, even though it may not be your time yet, but building that relationship. But how can someone start preparing financially, even if they're not ready to buy today?
One, I would say make sure anything that's reporting to credit is paid on time. Anything that is hitting your report monthly is paid on time. I always tell people, hey, you know what? If your credit card bill and your cell phone bill are both due at the same time and you have to choose which one to pay first, pay your credit card. Because guess what? Soon as that late payment hits your credit, it's going to drop your score.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say save money, because even if you don't have to use it in the transaction, it always looks good to have money. It strengthens your profile. It helps make you look responsible. Those are the two biggest things.
Okay.
Make sure that your credit stays intact, is intact, and make sure that you have some kind of savings.
Right. Okay, good. So let's step away from the tangible things, but let's talk about like the wealth mindset and legacy. Because you talked about that earlier, how you're building this business to eventually give to your son, and then eventually that will transition to his children. How do you define wealth beyond money or property?
Beyond money or property?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, that's so broad. And there's so many ways to feel wealthy. Health is wealth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, family is wealth. Um, but beyond cash and property, I would say those are things that make me feel wealthy. My family, my friends, my loved ones.
Okay. So you've been in this industry for 24 years. So you made it through 2008,
I
right?
did.
Um, did you have mentors over these 24 years, or how do you think mentors or financial educators play a role in helping you feel confident about being an entrepreneur?
Again, it's because they're educating you, right? Um, I I didn't have like one-on-one mentorship, but I did a lot of following a lot of people like in real estate. Meaning I would follow Tony Robbins. And there were a couple of small, like, there was this one investor that I would follow. He was in Texas. I followed him. He was a small investor in the like Houston area. I followed him from like the start of his career until now. Like, he's huge in that area because he has tons of property. So I didn't have like one-on-one mentorship. I read a lot of books. I followed people who were doing what I wanted to do and could teach me the things that I needed to know. So that's how I went about it. One-on-one mentorship is awesome if you can find it, and if you find someone who can do it for you, I suggest it. I'm a big reader, so I like to read books on things, and then that's something that you can always take with you and refer back to. So yeah, I think mentorship is very important. Very important.
Yeah, I think that's pretty big too, because I find like in the financial industry, just like you say, following Tony Robbins, there are multiple people that I follow on YouTube because I don't just want to rely on those who I know personally. Like, I want to test if what they're telling me is accurate,
Right.
100%. Now, if I find whether it's Tony Robbins, whether it's Marvin Golden or Wall Street Trapper, whoever it may be, I can't touch them physically, right?
Right.
But I can follow them. I can read their books. I can watch their videos, and that's mentorship as well.
It is.
So let's talk about the future, right? You've been doing this for 24 years. What trends do you see that are going to shape the future of real estate and home ownership?
It's so funny. this one thing is always ever changing. No trends stick. They just don't. The one thing that we say about this real estate business is that it is forever changing. There is no consistency with it. The one thing that holds true, though, is that if you own real estate, it goes like this, right? It's always like going like this. But if you pan out over time, it's always on a trajectory that goes like this. So that is, I think that's the one thing that we can take and say holds true. But everything else is, everything else just changes and changes and changes, which is why it's not for the faint of heart, right? It's not like being in the industry and actually working in it. You have to be able to pivot pretty, and pivot how you do things, how you handle your business. So that's a tough question to answer for that reason.
How do you think, especially where we are today in this world with technology and AI, how do you think they are changing the landscape of real estate?
I think AI is going to play a huge part in how things shift. Exactly how, I don't know yet, but I do see it like right now, especially within marketing, but also I think it's gonna make things easier and more simple for homeowners at some point. I think the process is gonna be much more simplified for people who want to purchase homes. I think we're always going to be in need of human beings, obviously, because we need people to take us out. We need people to lean on. We need people for that education piece that doesn't feel stiff and robot-y. But I think AI is going to shift some things and I think things are going to be a lot more simple. I think it's going to automate the process. Like, for instance, I think, paycheck stubs, people are not going to have to download them and upload them and all that stuff. It's just going to be simple and easy. Like, you have a job, link your job, boom, your income, everything is there. Right. I think that's going to be a thing.
Right. Okay, good. Last question as we wrap up. I want you to think about this for now. You're a vet, 24 years in the game. What advice would you give someone who wants to build wealth through real estate but doesn't know where to start?
Talk to a lender. So simple. Because they will look at your whole profile, everything that you need to know, and they'll know everything you need to know, and they will tell you exactly what you need to do. That is all. We're not the first step typically, but we should be. Like, most of the time, people reach out to a realtor before they reach out to the lender. Really, the lender is the one who looks at your whole picture. We tell you how much you can afford, how much you can, what your purchase power is. You don't know that by going to a realtor. We get to see your income. We get to tell you, okay, well, if you do this, then you can do this. We get to make a plan. You can tell us what you want to do, and we can figure out how to work around your situation to make it happen.
Now, it's funny you say that, because when I was a housing counselor and I would go to these different trainings, because I don't think people realize how many people actually touch, whether it's your paperwork or that are involved in the process. The lender was never the first. But like you just say, talking to the lender first, they can help you get your ducks in a row. So maybe you're not buying in 6 months, maybe it's a year's plan, and then you get these things done, you check them off your list, and then you come back to the lender and say, I've done all these things. So I'm glad you said that because I don't know. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I went on a whole campaign like last year, and I was only on the kick for probably about 2 months, but I was going so hard with it. I'm like, why are you calling? And I would post it on social media. I'm like, I'm step one, I'm step one, I'm step one, because I am step one. I'm really step one. And that step one can be a year and a year. I've had people that I've worked with for years. I have a lady that she called me, Tammie, I'm ready to buy a house. Then she lost her job. So she wasn't ready to buy. She went and got a job again. She messed up her credit a little bit. We did some things, we fixed it. And we took the time to do what she needed to do. And then she purchased her home. I also have people who come to me and say, Tammie, I'm not ready, but I want to see what I need to do. And I'll say, you're absolutely ready. What are you waiting for? You know what I mean? So like, I'm really the first step in the process.
I think that's good though, because I think that gives you an opportunity to build a relationship. And it's like I tell, our clients, students, like there are certain people you should have in your circle, a tax professional, a lawyer, a real estate professional, a mortgage person. Even if you don't need them right now, you can start to build that relationship with them. So when you do need them, they understand your situation. You've built trust together. You built a relationship together. So that's really good stuff. So is there anything that I did not ask you that you definitely want to share with those who are going to see this interview?
No, not really. I think the most important thing that I wanted to get across, and I think I did, is well, number one, I'm an educator. So, and I love to help people do this. I do this not because obviously it affords my life, but I do this. I chose this career because I'm passionate about it and I love doing it and I love helping people, especially the people who feel like they can't do it. I'm always there to show them that they can.
Awesome.
So that I think that was really important for me to get across in this interview. And I think you hit everything else on the head. We talked about some
Well,
really
that's
good.
because that's what I do.
I like that.
Where can people find you on social media?
Tammie Lester on Facebook, at Tamila2 on Instagram, which is TAMILAHTOO. And those are my big ones. So once you find me there, you can. That's mainly what I use.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being on Word for Word. So that is another powerful conversation on Word for Word. We learned about homeownership, and that is just not about a place to live. It's about having a strategy to build, leverage, and also to pass on wealth. So remember, the road to financial freedom starts with building financial literacy. So if you want to learn more, you can go to my website, howmoneyworks.com/Michael Rayford, or also wealthwave.com/Michael Rayford as well. Tammie, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure we're going to have many more conversations as well.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Thank you.
All right. You take care, okay? Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Recording.